Hey, what's going on? It's Daniel Sneed, and welcome to another episode of the Best Bet Show, where we talk about the skills that give you the best bet to create the life of your dreams. Today, I'm really excited. I actually have one of my day one students. I'm talking day one, literally the moment BBSA was launched. He was enrolled, but I've got him here in studio with me. We're going to talk. But before we do that, hey, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're seeing this on Instagram or TikTok or any social media, follow me on social media at Best Bet Dan. But let's get into today's show. So I want to first introduce our guest. So me and Juan actually go back pretty far. I've known him for a long time. We went to the same church together. But when it came, well, actually, let me introduce you. So Juan Martinez, really awesome young man. Juan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It was a pleasure.
For sure. So Juan and I, we go way back. I've known him for a while. Funny story, when I was creating Best Bet on the very beginning stages, I knew Juan would be a really good fit. Like I had this kind of sixth sense that like Juan should take this course. Yeah. So I talked to you about it, and I remember like it was yesterday. You're like, so how old are the kids in the course? and so I had a wide range of ages. Like we had one 12-year-old, because it was a test. Yeah. So we had a 12-year-old, and we had some 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and you were the oldest one. So why were you saying no?
So basically, when you're going to try something new for the first time, you want to know who's a part of it. And when I found out that I was the oldest one, I think I was 21 at the time, or 20. I found out I was going to be the oldest one there. I was a little hesitant, to be honest with you. I was like, oh man, this is meant for high schoolers. I already graduated like 2 years ago. So I was just a little nervous, because I was like, oh, what is Dan going to teach me this time around? Like how applicable is something from high school going to be for a 22-year-old, for example? Right.
I literally had to twist this man's arm, because he was just like, I don't know, this little kid. I'm like, bro, like, if you don't take this course, bro, you're going to be working at a factory when you turn 22, and your best friend is going to be 57. Then we'll talk about age gaps. You know? But I'm glad you took the risk. You know, I'm glad that you allowed me to twist your arm a bit and you got started, because it's been quite the journey, and we'll talk about that. But
I'm happy that you did.
Word, because we've been rolling, right?
It's been a journey.
Word, that's what's up. So I think one of the first things that I want to talk about is like your background. Right. So tell us a little bit about just where you're from, how you got to Rochester, where we're at right now.
So I was originally born in Cuba. Me and my family, we moved from Cuba to the United States when I was around 4 years old. At the time, I didn't know any English. So moving to a different country, not even knowing the language, was very daunting on me. I grew up with really good education, but at the same time, there's a lot of teachers out there who gave up on me because I just couldn't speak English. So growing up, I didn't have the best connotation with learning in school. So my family moved here from Cuba. We were part of this relocation program. And they put us in Rochester, out of all places. And I've been in Rochester for about 19 years so far. So I went to school here. I went to elementary school and 12th school. There I got my first taste of learning English, learning what the American lifestyle was all about. And then from there I went to a private school called Destiny Christian in Brighton, right across from McQuaid. There I actually learned more about how to get out of my comfort zone. You know, as an immigrant, you don't want to step over boundaries. You kind of want to stay to yourself and kind of be in the background. So growing up, I was always introverted. Once I went to Destiny Christian School, I started branching out a little bit. I think in 10th grade, I became the student council president.
Okay, my man.
Yes.
President Juan.
Exactly. Unlikely, but yes. At that point, I kind of started branching out as a person. I became more extroverted. I started talking to people because it was my job to get to know the student body. It was my job to get to know more about the students and their needs. And then from there on, I kind of started becoming that more often, the outgoing person who wanted to talk to you, who wanted to make friends with just about anyone. And then
So when you graduated,
Yeah.
what did you do right after grad? Did you enroll in college at all?
So I did I did enroll in college. I did MCC.
A full year or semester?
I did a full year MCC, and then I did a fall semester the next year after. And like I said, I didn't have the best connotation with school, so being at college kind of made me feel, if I'm being honest with you, made me feel like I was the dumbest person there. It didn't really make me feel like the most comfortable version of myself, knowing that I was extroverted, outgoing, you know. Ever since high school, I knew that I was, you know, learning how to be more social. So college kind of made me feel like I was the odd one out. Everyone would finish their test before me. I felt like I was just left behind in everything that I did. So I did a whole year of MCC, didn't have the best grades because I was a little distracted. Also part of my ADHD. I was a little distracted.
Okay.
But
you have ADHD?
I do have ADHD.
Oh,
yes.
snap. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yo, ADHD, just people were just gravitating towards me and I didn't even know it. That's crazy.
Exactly.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
And that's another reason why teachers weren't really fond of me. They're like, this kid can't stay focused.
Yeah.
So going to MCC, I kind of learned more about myself as a person. I learned that, you know, this might not be the best route for me. I know that I can do it, but right now, I just want to take a different direction. And then a couple months later, you called me with a very interesting offer, and that was to take your course. I think you were in the pre-trials of your course. Before that, our relationship was kind of more of like, you know, what's going on,
basketball.
What are you up to, basketball? It was more like a big brother kind of thing. But once you hit me, once you started talking to me about Best Bet, that's when I kind of hesitated from our relationship and our prior, you know, relationship. I was like, you know, I really don't see myself being a part of course with a bunch of high schoolers, knowing that I was a year and a half into college and all that kind of stuff. But you said, you know, I promise you, you're going to get a lot from this. And that's when I started Best Bet Skills Academy. And at first, I didn't really take it as serious as I should have. But once you kind of big broed me, like you just kind of took me along the whole path. I kind of started getting the point of Best Bet. It's more of a course about knowing your potential and knowing that there's more that you can accomplish right after. Because I think the biggest part for me coming from Cuba was understanding my worth as an immigrant, as a person. You know, sometimes you can feel like you're like the second option. You know, sometimes you can feel like you're the guy in the background and you're supposed to stay in the background. Best Bet kind of made me realize that, you know, there's more value to you, especially when you're bilingual, you're very personable, like you have social skills and all this kind of stuff. Best Bet was kind of like sharpening the sword a little bit. It was kind of taking what you have and making it more.
No, I love that. So in the beginning, right, Best Bet, so we did a whole test course. So that was in the summer of 2021, and it was live. We were on Zoom.
I do remember that. Everything was on Zoom.
which was fun. Honestly, like I low key enjoyed that because it was very real. It was very raw. You know, just sitting there teaching from my slides and. Everybody was engaged. You know, you asked a lot of questions. I remember, you know, especially after we did the 2 sales lessons. I remember you said something to me. I'll never forget this. You're like, I saw someone selling cars. I think it was a relative's boyfriend or something. You saw them selling cars. And you're like, I don't think I could do this. But you're like, now seeing that there's a step by step. It's like, yo, I actually could see myself doing that. And wildly enough, like that's literally what you're doing today. Like that is what I'm doing today.
So the story behind that, I'm gonna make it very brief. I saw, so my girlfriend at the time, her best friend was dating a guy who sold cars. And I saw him and I'm like, at the time I wasn't really doing much with my life. And I saw him and I was like, wow. You know, it's one of those moments where you realize, you know, people your age are actually accomplishing a lot more than you think. You know, I think I was 21 at the time and I realized, you know, it just kind of hit me. I need to be more. You know, I want to accomplish more, and I wasn't really happy with myself at the time because I knew that I had more in the tank and I don't think I was really utilizing my abilities to the fullest.
Yeah.
And that's one day I randomly called you because I was having like an epiphany, for example, and who to call in a moment like that than Daniel Sneed himself, the man who can make things happen. So I called you and I was very frustrated with myself. I said, Dan, I know our relationship, and I know that you've always called me to kind of go outside my comfort zone, and that's kind of what I needed. So I called you to ask you, hey, I want to be a car salesman. And I will never forget what you told me. You said, Juan, you said, I'm literally so mad at you right now, because this is something that I've been trying to get to you through your head for so long. It was
when you were riding around dropping off resumes.
Yes.
And I'm like, bro, why would you ever do that, bro? Like,
exactly.
Yo, use your network.
Use your network. That was the biggest thing. What are we even learning in the course? Use your network. Because I called you out of nowhere, and I never thought that it would happen. But I called you out of nowhere and I said, I want to be a car salesman, because I never thought that I could be one. I never thought that I had the potential. Growing up Hispanic, you speak full Spanish at home, and then when you get to work or when you get to school, you're English only. So I never thought my communication skills were good enough to become something like that. So the reason that I called you that day, I don't know if you ever knew this, but I really didn't think that I was able to do it. And the reason that I called you, because I was very frustrated, I was very lost, and I wanted an answer. And you've never lied to me. Like, if there was something that I wasn't good at, you would tell me right away, so I would save some time instead of going down that road.
Right.
But you surprised me that day. I didn't really take it serious, the conversation that we were having. I just threw it out there, and I made it seem like I was serious about it. But later on, I had plans of doing something else, for example. So I called you and you said, I think you can do it. And that moment on, it was just
go time.
Go time.
It was go time.
It was go time, yeah.
You were working from that call, you were working at a dealership within 2 weeks from that call, I believe.
I was. I originally applied for the sales position.
Right.
They told me,
Well, I want to stop, because actually I want to tell this story, because I think this is kind of cool. So, all right. So, boom, we get off that phone call and I go to work. I go to work, I start calling my people or whatnot, and then boom, got in touch with Rich Ide, who his son and my daughter were in the same class that year.
Gotcha.
So we had just connected at a field trip, right? And so I called him and said, hey, look, this is what I've got, boom. So I explained to him the course, I explained the situation, and I said, what can you do? So he was like, have him fill out the application. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I remember you filled out the application, boom, they interviewed you very quickly.
It took a little bit of, it was a miracle by God. Let's just put it that way, because I remember applying and they didn't have anything.
Right.
So I called you immediately because I interviewed that day. I had a really bad interview because I wasn't expecting to get that far. So I didn't really have a game plan in my mind. So during that interview,
it happened so fast.
It just happened so fast. So in that interview, I was talking to Adam Wild, who's now my GM. He's a really nice guy, but you don't have prior, you don't have a relationship with him or anything like that. So I'm meeting him for the very first time.
Right.
We had a really spotty interview because I don't really know too much about cars. I just knew that I wanted to be a salesman, and I wanted it so bad that I was willing to do anything for it.
So listen, just to help the people watching, right? So I knew the VP of the company.
Yes.
So I connected with the VP. VP said fill out the app. He filled out the app, but he was interviewed by the GM.
Yes.
So you guys that are watching, you guys can track with us. So even though the VP, right, or he's on the ownership team as well, he had the resume pulled. You had to go and talk to the GM. I had to go talk to the GM. I didn't know that guy. You didn't know that guy.
I didn't know him at all.
Completely cold.
Yes. So I didn't have the best interview. They said, we'll stay in touch. But my drive and my ambition really showed throughout the interview. Might have not been the best interview ever, but there's a thing about me where I want to express to you how hard I will work just to get the position that I need to get.
Right.
And he kind of got that from the interview. And they had nothing. A couple days later, some people quit, and something happened where I was able to call back. And the follow-up game was crazy. I've never followed up like that ever in my life.
Facts.
So I followed up a couple days later, and I called a different store that it was like I had Volkswagen, for example, and I called them and I tried to see if they had a sales position, and their general manager said, you know what, I'm going to call Adam real quick, the guy who I had the interview with. And Adam called me back immediately after. He's like, we actually have a position that just opened up, like the day after I left for the interview.
Okay.
And it was a lot attendant position. So a lot of attendants pretty much just move the cars around. They do anything that the salesmen need. They do anything that the general managers need. And I was so thirsty and hungry to prove myself that I would start from the very bottom.
Right.
Usually it takes them a couple of years and a good resume beforehand to be in the position that I was in. Because to sell cars for one of the leading Honda dealerships on the East Coast, it takes effort, it takes a lot of drive, it takes a lot of ambition, but it also takes a good resume.
Right.
And throughout my 7 months of being a lot attendant, I worked my...
I'm going to stop there.
Yeah.
You jumping ahead. I remember when you told me about the lot attendant offer.
Yeah.
Because I think this this speaks to you. So he told me that they offered him the lot attendant position. Now, I knew Rich, you know, he had pulled the app. But I told you, I said, I literally told you, I said, don't take that job.
You did say that, yeah.
I said, don't take it. Because I said, they're making a sale. They're selling that you're a lot attendant, not a salesman.
I remember that.
You can go work somewhere else. And I told you not to do it. And I think it was huge for you because, number one, you said, I'm going to take it because I think I can prove myself. But then also, you said, I feel like they're being honest with me, and you followed your gut. And it's funny, like, so I told him not to do that because I had an experience in the car business where I was going to try to sell cars, and I had no experience selling cars, but I had experience selling. And they told me, hey, take this position and we'll move you up when something's when something opens. And several times they didn't do that. So based on my own experience, that's why I was saying, look, don't do it, because if you do that, then you can get stuck there. And so shout out to the team at Ide Honda because they kept true to their word. So go ahead and talk about that. So
it was a rough journey because essentially I was passed up for the position, and I felt exactly how you felt during your journey. So for me, I felt like I was working very, very hard. Doing more than my job. At one point I was cleaning the cars, I was trying to prove myself, and I was working extremely hard. I remember my job is to pick up cars, to transfer them from place to place, to make sure that, you know, the salesmen have the vehicle that they're showing and all that kind of stuff. At one point I was a receptionist. I was cleaning the cars. I even kept a little diary of all the vehicles that I've cleaned, and at one point in 1 month I did, I think, 32 cars. That's crazy. That's one car a day. And I wasn't doing like little vacuums. I was literally dolling them up, meaning that I was putting wax on them. I was washing them. I was cleaning the inside. And some of those cars, you know, some soccer moms bringing those Odysseys in, it's
I got Tyler's, I know.
Exactly.
They be tore up.
The stickiest of materials that I've ever, you know, you don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
But I wanted to prove myself so bad that I would do anything to do it. I wrote in my little notebook all the vehicles that I cleaned, and at one point, I just felt like I was working more than anyone else.
Yeah.
So another guy who's there before me, we work together now. He's a great guy, but he got the opportunity, and in my head, he was there before I was.
You called me.
I called you immediately, and I was like, they gave him the job. I can't believe this.
Right.
And I was so upset, and I was looking all around for a different job, and it was God's will, in all honesty, that I ended up there and stayed with Ide Honda because I was so upset.
I remember that.
I was so upset because I at that moment I was like, I'm not gonna work hard for this. And for me, it was a moment for me because it was my first adult moment where I realized what life really was in America. It's not about, you know, it is about how hard you work. But sometimes people get opportunities before you do because in my mind, I took it as a spiritual message from God, saying that if you were ready for this, you would have it right now.
Sure.
But I think God really put that in my heart to deal with some things, put some personal things, where I had to realize, you know, I have to mature now more than ever, because if I want this job, I have to be ready to accept being a failure or feeling like a failure. I have to be ready to accept not winning all the time.
Yeah.
And that was just my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a home where my father did absolutely whatever he could to make me feel like we weren't in poverty, to make me feel like we weren't, my father and my mother. So I always got, not my way, but like I always felt like
You were a winner.
a winner, for example.
Yeah. You may not notice, I don't know if you noticed, but you almost ended up in marketing. Did you know that?
No.
All right, so boom. So when I met with Rhonda to talk about, and I'll get into more details of this later, but I met with Rhonda, the marketing director, and we were talking about potential sponsorships or whatever. And she told me, she said, you went to take her somewhere. And she gets in the car and she said within 10 seconds, you would look her square in the face and were like, I could sell cars. I know you're tight with Rich. I could sell cars. Let him know that I could sell cars. And she was just like, well, if they don't have a spot for him in sales, I'm about to pull him to marketing.
Did she really?
Yes. So she actually went to Rich. She went to Rich and told Rich, I want Juan. And that was right around the time they were getting ready to put you in sales.
Really?
So like, what you don't realize is that, people were taking notice of your hard work. No, she told me that straight up. She was like, nah, I wanted Juan. I wanted to hire Juan, but it was by that time they were already making the moves to bring in the sales. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. But yeah,
I didn't know that at all.
Wild, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So I really do have to give a big shout out to my parents, for teaching me the value of hard work, but also for the people who have given me the recognition. Like my manager, my GM, Adam Wild, he has always been, for example, it's tough love with him.
Yeah.
But he sees a lot of potential in people.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, he's going to be on your team no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if you disappointed him, even if you failed, he's always been that person to make you feel like, he cares.
Right. And I think that's really awesome because it's funny, we were talking even before the interview and I wanted you, I said, hey, the people that are at the dealership that are like, pivotal into helping you grow, talk about them because I realize best bet is not the thing, it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a piece to the puzzle. And even I know that you've talked about some of the other salespeople that have kind of just taken you up under their wing and have, they're showing you the ropes, they're letting
100%.
you listen to their appointments.
Yeah.
They're, just giving you little tips and pointers to help you get things going. So who's the top person at the dealership?
It's a tough one. So top person, I work with this.
Or let me say this, I don't want you to drop a name, but let me say this. Who is, about how many cars average are the top people doing? Let's go there.
Right now it's what, May 6th, 2023. Right now, because of COVID, after COVID, the car industry isn't the same anymore. It's mostly, a couple years ago, people can show up and we have 300 new cars to choose from. What trim do you want? What color do you want? It's all there. Now it's a little different. Before, a regular, car salesman would sell 30 units and that would be like a regular month. To get to 30 units now, with the lack of inventory and all that kind of stuff, it's a very hard thing. So there's a couple of salesmen at IDE who do like 25 cars consistently.
That's awesome.
Because of their network, because of their drive. I literally look at these people and I'm just in like surprised and really shocked that every day they're on the phones, every day they're working really hard to make rapport with the customers. I'm in sales now and I feel like I'm telling everyone the same thing over and over and over again. But these people, the reason they're striving is because they make it seem like everyone is different. Yeah. It's not like the same thing all over again. They make people feel, heard, and also they make them feel like a part of a family. And that's what IDHON is all about, making people feel like, it's a family business, making you feel like you're a part of it now.
Right.
If it's a matter of going to service, it's a matter of going to the parts department or sales. We have, the reason that we're still around is because of our customer service. The reason that we're still around is because of people like the top salesmen who make people feel like they're wanted back. You know how many times I've walked in and had one of the top salesmen just have a conversation with one of the regulars. They sold them a car already. That it's not about selling cars. It's about keeping that relationship.
100%.
You know, unfortunately, there was a customer who passed away recently who was a regular. He would come in all the time and he would talk to one of the top salesmen. Usually he should be selling cars. But he sets time aside right in front of the person just to talk to them, just to make them feel like, you know, I hear you, you know, like I see you and like you're part of our family.
Yeah.
And that's what really sets us apart. And learning from them and having those people around you really make you feel like you're not just here to sell vehicles. You're here to build on the brand. You're here to build on the family.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of change directions for the sake of time.
Yeah.
We're getting down to the end. But one of the things that I want to talk about specifically was, like, I don't know how to put this without your mental well-being, right? So when we first started talking about Best Bet in the very beginning, I felt like your mentality was kind of like frazzled, grabbing at stuff, trying to figure life out, right?
Yeah.
So now here we are. That was 2021 we did that. We're in 2020. We're actually next month will literally be the 2-year mark.
Wow.
So you were part-time as a barback when you started.
Yeah.
Your first level up was getting full-time at the dealership. So what did that do for your quality of life in terms of your earning, in terms of your even just peace of mind financially?
If you want me to be honest, I take a lot of responsibility for everything that I do. I take everything very personal, and that's something that I'm working on as of right now. So my well-being, getting full-time as a salesman, it, you know, went shot down because I'm so worried about, you know, my expectations, who I want to be and all that kind of stuff. Like I take it very personal. I take it very serious because it's at the end of the day, it's me.
But you jumped. Hold on. I want to go first when you went, because you went to lot attendant first, and that was an increase.
Oh, yeah.
From what you were doing at the comedy at the Carlson. So you went from, okay, part-time at the comedy club.
Yeah.
So now you got full-time hours, you know, so what was that first kind of increase like?
So that first kind of increase, you know, I was happy with a full-time job. It was my first full-time job ever. Everything I was doing prior to that was part-time. Okay. So I really felt like it's a small progress. I was very happy that I was working full-time for the first time, but I knew it wasn't enough.
Right.
Because I had goals for me and my family and I. Right. So I knew that it was just a small step to where I wanted to be. Right. So even that was a small victory that I kind of oversaw, because I knew there was more.
Well, because you were thinking about, it's funny, you were thinking about getting to the sales job.
Yes, I was so focused on sales let's get there. Right, that I just kind of missed the small victories along the way.
Right, so, all right, so boom, you have that bump, but then you get into sales, right? And so you started by saying, okay.
Not only that, but during that mark, I started learning everything that I could learn. So I became the receptionist. I think my little small victory that I realized afterwards, there was one point where I had Adam tell me, hey, wear something nice tomorrow, you're gonna be the receptionist. And I don't know if that means anything to you, but after working on, you know, picking up cars all day and all that kind of stuff, it gets hot outside. Right. So I got to wear some really nice clothes and stay inside, pick up some calls and really kind of feel like I was doing something. Right. So that
instead of just grunt work.
Exactly. And from that moment on, I was like kind of hybrid receptionist, hybrid lot attendant. Sure. I pretty much did anything they needed me to.
Okay. All right. So now you're in sales, right? You're in sales, and that's the money position. So you were starting to say, okay, transparency. You have worries in terms of the nature of what sales is, that day to day, you know, because again, sales managers are your friend, but they also need you to produce, right? So yes. That very much the attitude of what have you done for me lately, which
tough love,
that is common across the board with sales, right? But big picture, right? Overall, when it comes to like, hey, you understanding your career trajectory, when it comes to you understanding the potential that you have to earn, what is your peace of mind like when it comes to that today versus 2 years ago this time?
Oh my God. I was just thinking about this, I think, last night. So I don't want to brag or anything like that, but I do want to share my progress. I went from part-time to full-time to commission-based, only commission. It's only my third month in sales. I had a rough month last month, and my first month wasn't, awesome, but it was good.
Solid.
It was solid. So I went from solid to really bad, and then this last month I've sold the most cars that I've ever sold ever sold.
Man.
Yes. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of sleepless nights of stressing about coming into work the next day. There was moments where I felt like I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. So for me, it took a lot of work, but I sold 15 cars in my third month.
I like it.
And for me personally, I made more money than I've ever made in my life off last month alone. Seeing a check and going,
let's go.
And being worried about how much taxes took out has never been a worry for me before. Before taxes was like $50. Now we're talking a lot more than 50.
Sure.
It's just the way that I'm thinking about things, just the way that I'm worrying about things is different.
Yeah.
Before I would worry about, do I have enough money for the rest of the week? Now I'm worried about how much money are they taking from taxes. Am I selling enough units to make what I want to make after taxes? So taking care of my family is my number one goal. But also having a stress-free life is my next goal. So this is a great first step, and I feel like the journey is insane. From a kid who grew up in a different country, grew up in a household where their parents really did the best that they could, despite not being able to speak English, to provide, to feed you every single day, to make you feel loved, make you feel wanted, to now having an opportunity to pay that forward to them, to hopefully retire my parents one day. I don't know if you kind of have any friends in this field, but once you come from a different country, no one is teaching you how to save money. No one is teaching you how to be the Dave Ramsey of Latino, for example. Coming to America was the toughest thing ever, because there's people out there who are willing to lie to you and make everything seem like the truth, and then just to make money off of you. And we kind of fell to a lot of those antics before. So I think,
which may have been why you were a little skeptical about Best Bet to begin with.
Yes, I don't like the fact that people make money off of people who don't know what they're doing. And that's why I love working where I'm working, because our motto is, if we have to lie to you to make a sale, then we don't want the sale. We don't want it that much. And being honest with you, I learned from my parents how to work hard. I learned how to be honest. I also learned how to treat everyone like they're my parent. Treat them like they're my mom or dad, with love, care, patience, kindness. And the place that I'm working at now, that's their motto. I'm just kind of working on my people skills, but at the same time, I'm working on, Christ-like things, kind of like, being patient with people, learning how to take in people's flaws. Even if they come mad at you, you have done nothing to make them mad. You just have to take them and smile. Hey, what's going on? My name is Juan. Nice to meet you. How can I help you? So this sales position is more to me, it means more to me than anything else, because I'm learning how to be efficient, but also respectful, patient with people, and also how to manage my money, my time, and also how to work as a team.
It's funny. I was at BMW getting some service done on my car, and I was talking, because I used to work there, so I was talking to one of the sales guys that was there, and I told him your story.
Awesome.
And he was just like, he just looked at me square in my face. He just says, make sure he knows how to manage his money. Because he was like, I've watched young sales guys come in and, they start making money, but then all of a sudden they got an $800 car payment, and they're buying a jet ski, and they're literally just, as soon as they make more money, they spend more money. So, I definitely want to admonish you, although that is not the kind of the bread and butter of what Best Bet is, but to find those resources, to find those people that can help you to, get in a situation where you can grow your money. Because here's the reality, right? You're working for your money right now. You're making great money, but you don't have any student loan debt, do you? I
do not.
No student loan debt. I'm not going to ask you about credit card debt. I feel like that's too personal. But either way, just because of the fact you have no student loan debt and you're in a position to make 6 figures, like, yo, you can legitimately do that.
It takes a lot of work,
at
but
this job.
it's the doors are open.
100%.
And before they were closed.
Right.
The opportunity wasn't even there.
100%.
But like a person like me, just having that door open means that you can go to work.
Right.
You can prove yourself.
Right. So now, shoot, in 5 years, if you make decent decisions, and I say decent, right?
Yeah.
If you make decent decisions, you can put yourself in position to be able to do some incredible things. And so I'm definitely rooting for that. And I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier. So I mentioned talking about Rhonda Morelli. Shout out to Rhonda. I call her Rhonda from Honda.
Yes. Rhonda's amazing, yeah.
So once you got the job, and matter of fact, once you moved into sales, I reached back out to Rich, vice president and one of the owners, and I sat down with him. I said, hey, look, like, you know, I know you guys do a lot in the community. Like, what do you guys think about scholarshiping some kids to go through Best Bet?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, literally, right? A lot of times I talk to business owners, I have to kind of sell them on the results.
Yeah.
But I'm like, look at Juan. Every time I ask Juan, like, this is, you know, and again, it's not that I take credit for who you are, because you came with the raw material, right? Yeah. The work ethic, the hunger. And even when I'm enrolling students, right, that's one of the biggest things I look for, is I look for hunger. Like, yo, who is hungry to have something either better or different, right? Because it's not always about better. Sometimes, like, I saw this growing up, but I'd rather have this. And if you can help me get to this, then, like, I'm down to play ball.
That's something else that I was going to mention. I know we're wrapping up soon, but pretty much Best Bet Skills is kind of like, if you're going to go to college basketball, for example, this is the best way that I can think of. Best Bet Skills as scout that you want to notice you. Best Bet Skills, if for example, if you notice us right from the jump, you have a great talent of seeing people's potentials. Mm-hmm. You know, so the way that I look at it is, if Dan really notices you from the get-go, then you're already way ahead of where you think you are.
I like that.
You're kind of like that golden ticket, that Willy Wonka golden ticket. You know, you might not know what you have, but once you go through it, you can kind of see what someone else is seeing in a different perspective. Right. Because you've been the same way with different people, and it's paid off. Right. You know.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because I think low key, like, sometimes I feel like kids think I'm like weird. You know, when I'm talking to them, like, but I can see the raw material. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, you just let me refine you. Let me just, like, yo, let's go through this refining process together. And yo, watch what you can do in a year. Watch what you can do in 6 months. Yes. If you start to put some intention behind, you know, those skills you have. And so I've never heard it put like that before, but that was really cool. But so long story short, when it comes to Rhonda, so Rich connected me with Rhonda, the marketing director. Yeah. We sat down. Yo, we had like the dopest lunch ever. We had like lunch for like 3 hours. We was just chilling, just talking. Awesome. We spent more time just catching up, talking about like life and just whatever. And then, you know, we talked about Best Bet. Then when I told her everything, and she had already experienced you. Like, that's when she told me the story about when when she got in the car with you, what you said to her. And, you know, she was just like, man, like, I got this number 2 in my mind. I got 2. And so they ended up scholarshiping 2 students. And so we actually, a couple of days ago, we went to the school for one of the students, and we just did a meet and greet. We did a sit down. That was really cool that Rich and Rhonda both showed up. They were both present, you know, mentally very much vested. It was just a really awesome day. Mm-hmm. And so, but you created that opportunity because you came in the Best Bet and you actually made it something. So shout out to you for that. And it's just so amazing, because I've talked to another student who got a scholarship, and you got a scholarship as well too, actually. I did, yes. To do Best Bet. And so I've talked to other students and just said, like, yo, like, the more people see the results of this course, you know, value is value, right? So I get some people like, oh, your price is too high. We're not gonna talk about that. Value is value. Yes. When people see transformation, it's easy. It's easy to find the funds. And so you are a part of this story. Like, you're a part of Best Bet growing. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that, because it really is, it's an incredible journey. And even on the business side for me of building Best Bet, it has been a crazy journey, ups, downs, highs, lows. But it's these stories, that allow me to, stay focused and stay in the trenches and keep it moving. But this is our time for today. I could talk all night. We can go all night. But here's what I want you guys to do if you're watching. If you are watching, Juan is on Facebook, Juan Martinez. You should connect with him on Facebook. He's on Insta. I know you don't use Insta for...
I don't really use Insta that much.
Much for your car stuff. But if you're in Rochester and you need a car, and it's not just Hondas, because you guys have used cars, you guys have another dealership, you got Volkswagen. So if you need a car in Rochester, make sure you go see Juan before you talk to anybody else. We got to help make Juan the #1 salesperson at his dealership. Let's do it. Let's do it, y'all.
Yes.
But, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Juan, thank you, man, for being you, for being excellent. And that is our show for today. Make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe. Best Bet Dan on TikTok and Instagram. Best Bet Skills Academy on YouTube. Subscribe. And I love it. I love it here.
Yes.
And we're helping kids, helping young people develop skills that give them the best bet to create the life of their dreams. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.